never keep a celebrity waiting. Come right in, my darling.
Thank you. Bonjour mes amis, c'est moi, Patsy, Unique P, et bienvenue sur ma chaîne pour une autre vidéo. For those of you who are new here, bienvenue fashionista. Here we speak about all things black fashion, lifestyle, a little bit of travel, et je parle un peu le français. If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Give your girl a thumbs up, like, share, and bien sûr, subscribe. Aujourd'hui video is a long, way overdue conversation with Miranda Askie from Miranda Askie Designs. You know I have rocked her pieces, her badass pieces in most of my videos as I'm her brand ambassador. And we finally got the opportunity to sit down and have a well overdue conversation. Welcome, Miranda.
Welcome, Patsy. I said cheers to that again.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be just speaking about fashion, the fashion industry in the world, starting from our home country here in Antigua, across the region, and what we see happening in fashion across the globe. So if this is something you're interested in seeing, get your wine, get your coffee, get your tea, or your water.
in fashion as a business and saying to my sister again, I need to go and do what it is that I really love doing, because in my creative skills with fitness, I was always doing my business on a smaller scale, because as you know, I was at the airport.
Right.
So at the airport, it was accessories.
Okay.
From accessories, I got the opportunity to, or I should say we, not I, my sister and I, because we're both business partners. We opened a space in Sugar Ridge, and that is where the clothing sort of pulled through there. Although I was doing it on a one-on-one basis at the airport when someone asked for certain things, where I would create those pieces, and then when we went into Sugar Ridge, which was probably 12 years ago or more, that's when the clothing started to push forward more. And I have to say, I went into bags first, because I also had another person we collaborated somewhat to do things together, and we were supposed to exchange ideas, because they wanted to learn accessories and I wanted to learn more about bags, but that never happened. Long story short, that never happened. But it did not say that I stopped doing what I intended to do, because it was a love. It is part of my love, right? So when fashion can go in many different directions, there's so many things, so many different avenues where fashion is concerned, but it's what you want to focus on. If you want to pick, whether you want to be on the business side, whether you want to be on the creative side, there's so many things you can do where fashion is concerned. So creatively, I chose to be doing the clothing and the accessories and creative part. My sister is on the business side of it all. If you ask her to sew, she won't, she wouldn't get involved in that. But for me, on the creative side, yes. And sometimes you have to control yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, sometimes you have to control yourself. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, it absolutely has. And, I have mentioned this before, but for those of you who are new here, Miranda and I knew each other from childhood. We attended the same church. We're both Catholics, and we grew up together. So we are not just knowing each other today, we know each other from back then. And a lot of these stories that she's sharing with you, I did not know all, because we lost connection for some years, but I always knew that she had a love for fashion. So, I am very proud to be sitting here with somebody who I grew up with, that has taken their dream into reality and created a thriving business out of it. So much so that when I decided to do my channel and I reached out to some local designers, without any hesitation, Miranda said, I'm here for you. You can use my pieces, and you guys have seen all of the pieces that I have been showcasing and will continue to promote for her. And it is me. I love anything that is a little bit bohemian and island-like, even though I don't think I'm an island girl in my head, but I like things like maxi dresses and very unique pieces and sustainable fashion. And this is something that I really appreciate about her aesthetic. So Miranda, what is your impression of the fashion industry, both locally and in the region? Let's start there, and then we can speak about what you see on the global scale.
So there's so much opportunities available for us in the Caribbean, because I can speak of the Caribbean because I've never really, other than looking at fashion shows and what's on the mainstream, what's available, I think we have a little niche here in the Caribbean. We have our own niche where we don't really have to follow what's going on on the outskirt. When I say the outside of the Caribbean, there's African fashion where we can delve into as well. But on the European side, or for say the Western world is more what I should say. Yes, there are great opportunities out there for designers depending on what level you want to take your business or the direction you want to take your business to. But all over the world, there's people who will want what you have outside of that demographic, because we are special. You could consider us. I say one season, you say 2 seasons. We have one season here in the Caribbean.
Right.
That's what I say, which is you can wear your summer clothes all year round. That's it. I understand when you say 2 seasons, because during Christmas time, it's a different. You can delve into
Yes.
the more elaborate couture, if that's what you want to say.
I would say in December, the months of November to January, it's more of the autumn season here. It's not as hot as in the summer. So whereas you can still wear your summer clothes, I find you can throw on a blazer depending on where you're going. And we are in a tropical zone, so really we can wear our pieces all year round, and it would always be fashionable and stylish.
And just to add to that, so that does not mean that we're only catering for people of the Caribbean.
Right.
We're also catering for people outside of the Caribbean, because people who live in those bigger countries, they travel as well. So whenever they're going on vacation on the Middle Eastern side or wherever that has warm climate,
Right.
they can actually purchase things from the Caribbean just to, I guess, showcase something different.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, the market here is about us supporting each other. It's about
Absolutely.
supporting each other in what we do, because if we don't support each other, who's going to support us?
That's right. And that brings me to my question. As far as support from the local community, do you find your clientele more of a local personnel, or it would be from the tourists who are coming and visiting at the hotels or on the cruise ships? Where do you see most of your clients coming in from?
I think I got a good support locally, regionally, and internationally.
Okay.
I think I get support from around the world.
Okay.
I have to say, it all depends on who's seen and who knows. Word gets around, so that mouth-to-mouth verbal conversation that's happening about interesting designers that are out there, or just wanting to support a black-owned business. Not
Right.
only black-owned business, but because it's not only black buys from me or from us. We also have
The
races,
Caucasian race.
Caucasian, yes. Indian to an X. It all depends on who's, like I said, who's looking. What it is you're involved in that got you to showcase your stuff outside of the regular market.
Okay.
So by word of mouth, it spreads, people get to know you and whatnot, so you're invited to other functions and so forth. And once that's done, then other palettes are being opened up to have a conversation about what you have to offer.
Okay. So your aesthetics is more of a resort vibe, I find, and
You think so?
Yeah.
I think it has a little bit of both, of resort and casual, because it all depends. Let me make you go and continue that conversation. So yes, a boho vibe.
Boho.
It has a
Absolutely.
little bit of a boho vibe.
Right.
I think that's where we're going with that. So it's a luxe resort, boho vibe.
Right.
Is that a better way to say it?
That's a much better way to say it, because for me, I am a bohemian girl. I like sneakers, and
Likewise.
you know, I like to be dressed up. I like my heels. I would wear a 5-inch heels every day if I could. But for most often than not, if I'm going out, I would throw on some sneakers, something really chic. And I find your pieces are very flexible in that way. You can dress them up to, if you're going to a wedding, a dinner, to wear heels, and you can also dress them down if you're going to a day event, a lunch, brunch. You know, since we have been doing this and you have introduced me to quite a bit of the designers here, one of the main conversations that keep coming up, which started with you, is that we should have a week where the local designers can expose themselves. How do you vision that happening?
Okay, I think what you have started, and I don't want to pinch anyone's nerve, right? But I think what you have started is a conversation going forward. And not that it has not been done on a different platform before. Because if I've spoken to you about Vanda Neal.
Right.
And Vanda was doing a fantastic job with the Independence Fashion Show.
Right.
But that has come to null and void. And maybe it's not null and void, maybe she's still trying to do something where that is concerned. But the assistant maybe is not there for her to push it forward. But she has opened up doors for many other young designers coming up. I'm no longer in that young bracket anymore because you grow.
Right.
You become a mature. Right? So for the younger designers, I think seeing people like Calvin S, even Noreen Phillips, because Noreen is much older than Calvin.
Right.
So it would have started for what I can recollect.
Right.
So let's say Noreen. My days of thinking of Noreen as a young person growing up is a woman of flair. Oh, right?
She had style.
Yeah.
Still has style to this day.
Yeah. So from her, I happened to model for her for a few as well. And Calvin as well. So Calvin would say to anyone that he could make Miranda do almost anything where fashion is concerned, right? So having these people as a backbone for me developing my skills in whatever way, form, maybe it's not that they taught me anything in particular, but they were there doing their thing. And Calvin, Noreen did more resort kind of fashion events. Right. And Calvin took it to another level. Calvin had big fashion shows.
Oh, they were amazing.
Flamboyant fashion shows. And Calvin as well started off as a model. Because I don't know if you recall Calvin. Yes. And for me, in the days of thinking of Calvin is when they did that big fashion show in Deluxe Cinema.
Oh.
So
that was epic.
2 persons stood out to me in that fashion show. And if I have the conversation with Calvin, he would know who the other person was. Was a thick girl. She was the thickest girl on the event, but she was bold and confident. And Calvin, I think she was either Jamaican or Trinidadian. Okay. Yeah. And the next person that would have stood out was the girl Yvonne, who models for Noreen.
Yes.
Right? Still does. And Yvonne is mature, but she still looks the part. Right? So having that set of people to look up to into driving you into what you go into, and plus me having my backbone being my mother, who would do my creative wear for me. So whenever I come up with ideas or drawings, I would have my mom sew for me. But my mom used to say to me, I don't like sewing for you because you're too difficult. You're too difficult. But she would not say no to me.
Right.
That the whole thing is, I was not a paying customer, but she would not say no to me. Because if I go way back to my childhood, Mommy used to dress me up, which is what I guess led me into that direction. So as the early ages, I think she said 2 months, I won a contest by her dressing me up.
Okay.
Now, to go even further, she kept putting me, because I guess I was her doll. For whatever reason, Marlene was not that individual. So I guess she picked up Marlene's personality from the beginning, right? And so that Marlene gets dressed, but she has her moments with dressing. So, but having that background, you know, behind of me.
You were elaborating
on the people who were my backbone
yes.
in this development of fashion. So Calvin played a big part, because Calvin used to do, I worked with Calvin actually on a short scale before I went into the working for different hotels. And Calvin, having worked with Calvin in the days, I think Base was around at the same time as well. So when he was upstairs in
Redcliffe Street.
So I was looking for something to do. I think I had just came from the US. I was looking for something and he hired me and I worked with him. He used to call me the brown girl. But I tell you, no, listen to me. You see young people, when we were young, the same thing that they're going through and they're telling you, I think we were there once.
I think so.
Because
I think
when they say they don't do this and they don't do that, I listen to them and I say, like, I was once there. You could, well, I'm still holding down the fort saying, I dislike pantyhose.
Oh, I can't stand.
I dislike pantyhose.
Oh my goodness.
And I dislike lining. But lining I will do, because some things call for lining. But and to finish certain products, it has to be lined. But you see, when I have on a particular skirt and it has an unnecessary lining, it's like, why is this thing lined? Why is it lined?
It's just extra fabric.
But no, listen, but to each his own. Each design is different. If you want to line your stuff, fine. It gives it a better finish. I understand that. I understand. But for me personal, I mean, you see what the garment you're wearing.
Yes.
I did those and I did not line not one of them. It was as sheer as possible. Even some of my I guess that's why they call resort Lux Resort, because you can wear your swimwear underneath a trouser, one of my trousers, and still get dressed up, just wearing a longer top with it and let it flow.
Absolutely. In fact, I ordered a swimsuit from another designer, Andrea Iyama. She had her sale, and I bought a swimsuit specifically to wear with this. I can wear it to dinner, or I can wear it to the beach.
Okay.
It is.
You're my vibe.
Yeah. It's cut in a way that it can be a swimsuit, or it can be a nice bodysuit.
Because that's what I did. I remember when they were having the event, Afro-Caribbean something. I think it was, what's a company that does the colors?
Rotary.
Yeah, they were having this event with African, and I'm like, okay, I cannot see myself wearing the full-fledged African garment, but I could do something that represent. So nothing I had on was African actually.
Okay.
I invested in this fabric, which was pretty expensive, and I went and bought this swimsuit from Sunseekers.
Okay.
And I put the two together and I just elaborated on my necklaces, right? And that was, so that swimsuit, would you believe that it's not a swimsuit, it's a top. It's a top.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I like. In my research, now that I am doing this channel, it has opened me up to so much more than just speaking about black designers. I have found pieces from designers of the Afro nature that are just absolutely breathtaking. Breathtaking. And you know, most of the African designers, I'm going to put up here in the clip my last fashion video that I did from the South African Spring Summer 24 collection Fashion Week. And there was one designer there that it's a guy, He calls himself, I think is Zafia. I'll put the correct name. But his pieces are just, I don't have words for them. And the other pieces, whereas you think South Africa or the African continent would have the mud cloth and everything like that, they did not use mud cloth, but you can see that they had not only the Western feel, but the very deep African heritage, the African aesthetic.
But bear in mind when you say the Western feel, a lot of these older designers did not get credit for their designs, because I think there was a designer who dressed Marilyn Monroe and
Yes.
Jackie O,
Yes,
and that was a black designer.
that's right.
So when they say
Leona.
Western, when you say Western, right? Bear in mind a lot of these people did not get credited for what
That's
they
right.
did or what they have done, right? So some of the things that we think is Western were done by other nations.
That's right.
So when you look
By
at
us, not by other nations. They were done by us, and we did not get the credit
we did not
for
get
it.
the credit for it. For instance, hot comb. Who invented hot comb? Was a black individual, you know. So a lot of things we just did not get credit for, and we just simply assume they were done by the Western world.
Yeah, that is why when I did Fashion Month back in February, I made a conscious effort to highlight a black designer in each one of the showcases, because these are people from the early years of fashion that never got credit for the fashion that they produced. It was always the mainstream white-owned business that got the credit for it. And I find that to be rather unfortunate. And it brings us now to a conversation where we can say, who really are the creative directors behind all of these mainstream designs that we are paying millions of dollars for? And why should we be supporting a face of a company rather than going directly to the artist and supporting them? So let's have that conversation.
We're gonna have that conversation
Yes.
shortly. So to have a fashion week based on the conversation where we're going with people who uplifted me and sort of encouraged me or inspired by, all right? So based on that, I think I have inspired someone else as well. So the generation behind me or the generation that's coming up, I would love to think that I inspired a few young entrepreneurs or people in the industry into driving them towards their dream and aspiration. So the opportunity for us to have a fashion event here, even if it's a 3-day event, there's endless possibilities for that. So it's up to us probably getting sponsors or going the extra mile, or having someone like you who can do the marketing towards that, or getting the right set of people involved into getting this a step closer to the direction we would love to go. So one of the things also is having those sorts of events motivates people like me into using my creative skills. It's not that my creative skills is not used, but actually you have something that you're working towards because you know this is happening at this time. So with the bigger countries, the Western world, they know they have events that are happening. They know they have Fashion Week happening in February or in months
September.
like that. And also February, I think there's
February and September.
So they know that this is happening. We have Paris, we have Milan, we have New York,
South Africa.
Yeah, you have all of these events that are happening. Only occasionally you hear about a Caribbean designer being showcased at one of these events, right? So I know I've been invited into Trinidad a few times by Richard Young, who I guess through other companies having events that he knows of me through Vanda as well, and I've been invited there. Calvin as well, and I was showcased at one point on the same show, and I went down there last year for Iwa Africa, which was based on a African diaspora fashion event, and so there were other I think Ghana represented themselves, myself from Antigua, and just a few other designers. Obviously, Trinidad being the host of this event, I guess it was put on by tourism. That's my belief. Tourism, with Richard doing the bantering for me to come up there and so forth. So it was well received. The whole setting was on point, and Richard doing his thing, and just that whole aesthetic of all the different fashion designers showcasing their pieces. Not forgetting the cloth was one of the people who showcased there. Okay. And I from time to time carry cloth garments here at Miranda Askie Designs. So there is the possibility of having a local thing happening with us designers, and then to make it grow into inviting regional designers, then making it grow even bigger by inviting some of the international designers. When I say international design, still on a smaller scale like us, but in the first world.
Okay. So this is a call out to the Ministry of Tourism and the Antigua Hotel and Tourist Association. We need your support. We think this is something that would bring a lot of people to Antigua as part of our tourism product. So this is something that I have been speaking to other designers about. And if you look back in the other videos where I showcased the dual fashion show, where I did that interview with 3 of the designers, it is something that is definitely needed in Antigua. And I also had the conversation with a designer from Barbados, and she too mentioned that it would be something wonderful to have here in the Caribbean, to have our own fashion week with our own aesthetic and our own cultural heritage. So this is just a call out to the powers that be to come on board. Let's support our own, and let's give these wonderful creative directors a platform to showcase their products and their aesthetics as well. So Miranda, we're going to wrap up, and we're here sitting in Miranda's boutique, and we are going to show you what we are wearing of her beautiful designs. And you'll see in the cutaway these 2 beautiful pieces. She's wearing a skirt and I'm wearing a wide leg trousers, lace wide leg trousers. And it is just, I took mine as far as Europe and everybody was crazy about it. So you can see that the design goes everywhere. It goes across the world. We just have to be confident in our own, support our own, and really encourage everybody to do their best. And then it will come. As the movie says, if you build it, they will come. So would you like to close off with any good words for our community?
Well, keep on supporting. We do appreciate each and every one of our customers coming into our boutique, and not only my boutique but other Black entrepreneurs here in Antigua, young designers coming up. With your help and your drive towards working with us, when I say working with us, supporting us in buying the pieces, encourages us to delve deeper into what we're doing, and the encouragement is really appreciated going forward. So, and for the young designers coming up, keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Don't let anyone stop you in your strides. Sometimes the road gets tough, but keep driving forward. And remember, no bridge was built in a day. You have to keep working at it, and the roads may end up with some potholes, but just keep paving it, pave your way through, and I'm saying that for myself as well. I have to keep driving myself forward and encouraging myself and looking for different ways to encourage myself. If it's not working one way, just tweak it a little and keep driving forward.
Awesome. And I want to say one more thing, which is something that I learned from watching Harlem Fashion Council. They had an interview 2 weeks ago with the wonderful designer Sergio Hudson, and he made it very clear, if we are going to support each other. Don't always be looking for a sale to support a black designer, because you give the wrong impression to the powers that be that they cannot sell at full price. So I encourage all of us to find local designers and local businesses wherever we can find them, black-owned businesses that is, and support and build our generation.